can't use that on the intro now. Try that again. Hello everybody and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast 2019 number 2. This is the second edition of our podcast for this year. I'm joined by Mr. Henry Cooper. How are you doing, sir?
Well tired. It's just been a long old week.
Would you like me to sympathise with you, or would you like to explain your state of being?
I'm just a baby. Well, the week started off with me just not going to bed at a sensible time. It's completely my fault, so I don't really expect any sympathy.
No binges this weekend?
Yeah. Well, that comes tomorrow. Yeah, so I just wasn't going to bed right, and then I wasn't sleeping well, and then for the last 2 nights I've got a sensible amount of sleep, but because of like the knock-on effects of the other days, I'm still like a zombie. I'm more functional today.
Yeah, sensible.
But even then,
sensible. I had the one night I had a sensible night of sleep. I felt the most tired this week. It's
yeah,
weird,
you can oversleep, can't you?
Well, I don't think it was that. I think my kids got picked up a bug or something from like being back at school. You know, it's the second week back in school, and the kids all you know, the kids are just filthy, man. They just eat bacteria and they just like bathe and play in absolute shit. And then they go to school. That's over the holidays, obviously. Then they go to school and they share it with all the friends.
Yeah,
and like, if one person's ill, the whole fucking
they get like
school
a super
gets ill, and then
cold,
everyone at home gets ill, and then you pick it. So I've got a standard kind of phlegmy cough, so I apologise if I'm coughing during this.
I've been a bit under the weather this week as well because I've been so tired. I think I've been like susceptible to it on my commute and that. So it's been making me feel like shit.
This weather, man, it's no good, is it?
I hate this weather.
A good old British podcast, isn't it? Kick off within 2 minutes with complaining about the
miserable
fucking
little prick.
Yeah, we're promised snow next week, so we've got that to look forward to. That'd be
because when British transport infrastructure completely falls apart, because of fucking snowflakes on the lines. We don't mean fucking political snowflakes.
Snowflakes everywhere, and just fucking up our country. Anyway. So, today we're going to talk about some more shit, like we normally do. I'm not sure what shit we're going to start with. We can talk a little bit about this obviously is a Patreon-funded podcast. And for everybody who do support us on Patreon, I just want to say a big thank you for everybody for your continued support. See, you get some energy from us for that. Because,
a little bit.
Like you guys, we seriously could not be producing these podcasts. And for those guys who are watching us on YouTube now, if you are interested in supporting the content and everything that we bring, these podcasts, you can listen to them a few days early if you support us on Patreon at any level. Head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming to check out some of the options available if you want to support the channel, because we honestly we would not be able to do this as we are without the Patreon support. So internally indebted to you guys on the Patreon, despite the shit that Patreon's been doing recently, but we won't get into that because that's a more political discussion. Our content is kind of we've been experimenting this week, right? We did a little parody kind of satire thing with Not the Gaming News on Monday.
Lots of people seem to be really into it, and a few people seem to really not. But that's fine.
That's comedy, though, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
You're going to divide your viewership.
Exactly.
We're aiming for something funny. We're aiming for something light. We're delivering the news in a different way, like a satirical way, and trying to be funny about it. Some people just won't get the comedy. Some people won't connect with people. But the vast majority of comments on that video were very encouraging and very supportive. And I don't think we haven't had a video like that with that many supportive comments for a long time.
Most people were into the new style. Just 'cause it's a bit different. It's a bit fresh.
It's just a new series. I mean, we'll see where it goes. We'll produce some more, obviously. It's very encouraging to see and read those types of comments. And there's just a sheer number of them and the amount of people who are liking the positive comments and stuff. So it does make us want to make some more in that vein. So for those of you who haven't checked out, Not the Gaming News, published on Monday.
Not the Gaming News.
It wasn't news. It was shitty jokes.
It was some of them were quite mean.
Mean and arsey. We get away with being mean and arsey if we call it comedy.
Just pretend it's funny.
I've been watching a lot of Bill Burr and Louis C.K. over the last month or so while I was away in America and that. And I tell you what, man, some of the shit they say, they're so mean and horrible, but it's so funny. And it's like, it's obviously comedy, yeah? You're not supposed to take them seriously. And they get away with all sorts of shit. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm surprised they've not shut Bill Burr down. I'm going to see him in next month, in a few weeks. He's coming to Liverpool. And I cannot wait. I'm so lucky to get tickets for that. But I'm surprised, given the political climate that's around comedy these days and the way you're not allowed to say anything. It's even illegal to say stuff. Like, freedom of speech doesn't exist in this country anymore, you know, with that. I won't go into it in detail, but the guy with, you know, who did the thing with the pug.
Oh, yeah, the Scottish bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous, because he's actually serving jail time now.
Oh, is he? Because he didn't pay his fine, yeah.
Or something.
He got fined, didn't he? He got fined.
I think first, yeah, but then
he obviously not paying his fine. So Bill Burr, man, he's one of the last true heroes. He doesn't give a fuck about anything, and he says what he likes, and he's so funny, man.
He's a good laugh.
Absolutely love him. So hopefully we don't get into trouble making our jokes. We'll just stay away from the political ones. But
well, you got to flirt with the political. You don't go all in. You just kind of.
They call that edgy, right? They call it being edgy.
Edgy.
You just got to like teeter on the edge without going into the abyss.
Yeah.
So that was a lot. It was a lot of fun making that video, because it's just like
an experiment.
Being piss taking. It's a natural British sense of humour in it, taking the piss out of stuff.
Yeah.
Being negative, but in a funny way, right?
Yeah.
Not derogatory way.
And the people who seemed to appreciate it the most were the people who were well aware that the jokes were shit. Like
most of them were. I mean, there was a couple of solid jokes there.
There were a couple of
there was 21 jokes in that whole video. And I think at least 2 of them were decent jokes.
Yeah, like, I don't see how you can watch through that whole thing and not laugh once. Even if you don't find the jokes funny, just like, this is really shit.
It's so bad.
Surely there's something.
There's an element of comedy that if you are publicly humiliating yourself, which is what saying a cringy joke is, like a dad joke or something, that's part of the joke, right? A dad joke is defined by the fact that it's so bad.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be bad. It's funny, right?
Yeah, because dads are like old and not hip with the kids and all that.
Hip with the kids. You could be a dad.
I could be a dad.
Saying shit like that.
Well, it's because I was fucking born to be a grandpa. I'm so grumpy all the time. Look, I've been complaining about being tired. I want to go to bed. Goddamn kids.
Happens to us all. So Wednesday we did the Metro Exodus preview thing, which we talked about in the previous podcast, so you finally got to hear what we thought about the game.
Yeah.
Which was quite good. And also, we produced the Trash Talk episode on Friday, which is another experimental type of video where it was more of like a monologue thing, where I'm just telling jokes and seeing how it hits, really. So far, I mean, it's only been out a few hours, but the reception on that video has been quite good too. So going forward, we always listen to the podcast, the feedbacks. You guys listen to the podcast.
We don't fucking listen. We upload it and like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, fuck that. We don't listen to that.
It's like an hour long. I'm not listening to myself again for an hour.
You're supposed to be selling this.
It's really enlightening and sophisticated intellectual discourse.
Yeah. But yeah, we do listen to your feedback. And if you like something, we'll stick with it and see where that goes. But we're really enjoying making these funnier type of videos, because there's a lot of serious shit. Not that we're not going to make serious shit in future. It's just that we're experimenting and we're enjoying what we're doing. So, so talk to me about what you've been playing this week, Henry. Have you had much time to play games?
What have I been playing? I think last time I said that I was playing the Spider-Man DLC, and if I didn't, that's what I've been playing. Finished that. It was fine.
Fine.
More Spider-Man, more
Henry's review. Yeah, it was fine.
Well, more Spider-Man, which I already really enjoyed. So I was swinging this the opportunity to get back into it again. Unlock some more suits, which I was enjoying.
No pun intended. You were swinging.
Well, my keys weren't in a bowl. Well, actually, they probably work. So I have a key bowl in my room with my wallet and that in it. But that's beside the point.
Well, what goes on between you and your housemates is your
They're
own
all
personal
blokes.
business.
I can't swing
I'm
that
not here to
far
judge,
with
Henry.
blokes.
I'm not here to judge. You do whatever you want at your own time.
You completely throw me off. So playing Spider-Man, and I was traversing the open world environment with webs.
Well put.
The DLC was alright. There wasn't anything particularly special, and I got it because it was discounted from the full price. I can't even remember what the full price was, but I got it for like a tenner. I got all 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, I'll do it. Want a bit more Spider-Man. And I'm glad I paid that price for it, because if I had paid full price, I would have felt a bit, this is a bit hollow.
Yeah.
Not really anything going on.
I hate that feeling.
Yeah, it's just, it's not terrible, it's not great. There's just nothing to get emotional about. And,
there's nothing to draw you through.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Yeah.
But I had fun, but that's just because the core game was fun itself.
How was the hair in the DLC?
The hair?
Yeah, like Aunt May's hair. And, there's one thing I've noticed recently it was not only Spider-Man, right? But there's a lot of games like it. I was, with Red Dead Redemption 2, and also I can't remember what the other one was. But hair these days is so unrealistic. Have you noticed? Right, it's always blowing in the wind. There's always a breeze, and it's flapping. It's so light. It's like, what is it with game hair these days? It's like it's gone too realistic. Yeah. It's like crossed.
I totally agree.
It's just not realistic.
I completely agree. Not really for Spider-Man. For a little bit with the Black Cat's hair, because I was just like, well, why is your hair out? Like, you're a cat burglar. There's your fucking DNA everywhere. Sort it out, love. But in Resident Evil 2's demo,
that's the one.
Because he's got Leon's got this undercut thing, so it's a bit short around here, but it's very long on the top, and it's kind of flopped and dreamy, And then every little movement, it's swinging, and it's like pulling curtains the whole way around his head.
It's too perfect.
Yeah,
it's like we nobody's hair is ever that perfect, especially not in a zombie apocalypse.
No, so games never get gravity of hair right, because it's particularly with
light, isn't it?
Yeah, it's particularly with female characters, because generally they have longer hair. But in Spider-Man, fucking Silver Sable will get knocked down, and she's got this bob cut thing, and it's just locked onto her head. It doesn't move.
Don't get me wrong, the hair looks good, and Aunt May's hair from the main campaign game, it's just great. It looks fantastic, and getting that out of PS4 is what I was playing it on. It's great, fantastic, well done, 10 out of 10 Insomnia, right? But that's not realistic, man. It's just not realistic.
It's
going overboard.
It's something.
Just chill out on the hair.
Right. Chill out on the hair.
Chill out on the hair, isn't it?
One that I think we've gone the similar way with, where it was good enough, and now it's gone weird, is mouth animations specifically.
Yeah.
Because and I was thinking about this earlier today, a lot of games, they don't animate a tongue or anything, and it's just
mocap
lips and shit, yeah. And I was thinking back to Resident Evil 5, where they do animate the tongues, and it looks fucking weird, because this was there's too much.
Yeah, too much tongue movement.
Yeah, well, then there's other.
The only time when that is a fact.
I want you to get the guy in the performance capture studio and put green dots all over his face and his body, and then a couple on his tongue. Track that shit, and we'll find where it's going.
Yeah, I can't say as I've ever had a problem with.
Well, I was obviously looking
bad tongue action myself.
Very closely at Chris Redfield's tongue in Resident Evil 5.
Never had any complaints either, but that's a different story.
One specific bit when Wesker's talking over a tannoy, a microphone thing, and the camera's right here next to his face, and he's just going, but he's saying words, and just, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But,
that's not great.
Bit of a nitpick.
And talking of here, I'm talking of Red Dead 2. That's a game that I picked up this week, Red Dead 2. I actually played it last night for an hour for the first time since before Christmas. Jumping back into the mid-campaign. I'm 46% in now. And I put it down because it just takes so long, and it's one thing that I'd realised when I picked it up for an hour is I got very little done in that 1 hour.
Yeah.
It's just a time sink in the best way, really. I mean, if you want that type of experience and if you want to be immersed, it's good for that. But what it isn't good for is giving you a really fast action and you're able to enjoy an hour. Yeah,
you can't play it for an hour. You've got to play it for 4 hours.
And that's the problem with picking it up in the first place, because for me, I'm very rarely got 4 hours, and sometimes it's not comfortable to sit down for 4 hours. I'm getting old now. I sit down for 20 minutes. I need to stand up and stretch.
He's been circling the office all week. Round and round and round and round.
You got to stay on your feet, man. At my age, if you sit down too long, you'll end up with a heart attack. You know what I mean? I'm getting old now.
The way I eat, I'm gonna have one anyway.
but it's true. There's something psychological about starting a session with it, because you know that you might be, the first 10 minutes might be on a horse getting to your first thing that you want to do. Yeah. And that 10 minutes is like, yeah, it's a beautiful world and I can enjoy that. But, you know, it's just, there's just so much that you can enjoy. I do love the game. I do like the game. It's like I'm just ragging on it. But back to the hair, I've got this like stupid, weird kind of beard going on at the moment where like everything's shaved down to like this goatee.
Yeah.
And it's kind of split in the middle.
Oh yeah,
it's like a kind of really defined goatee, no other facial hair, split in the middle, and the wind catches it. Like it's like,
how does the wind is really weird.
It's so, I mean, I was in Saint-Denis,
New Orleans.
I was in Saint-Denis, doing a stranger mission or meeting a stranger or something yesterday, and everybody said it was like native Indians, and they were like blowing, like hairs were blowing, and my beard was blowing. I'm like, you'd be taking shelter if it really was that bad. The wind was that bad. It was blowing my already centre party. Now, you know.
It does look weird, to be fair. Although I was at a gig the other day and I saw a guy in the crowd who looked exactly like Arthur Morgan, like maxed hair everywhere, like beard and head. And it wasn't like a big guy. He was just like a normal guy. And it was like greased back. And I was just like, it's not a good look, buddy. Not a good look.
Maybe he's role playing as Arthur Morgan, been doing the cosplay without even knowing.
Well, maybe, but you're like a rock show. You should be letting your hair down and, you know, head banging.
Don't want to leave that hair down.
No, well,
just slipping off the walls and
your whip and just get stuck to someone's face.
Thanks for that image, Henry. Thanks for that image.
Well, I'm sure he's a lovely chap.
So the hottest bit of news this week was the Star Wars cancellation from EA, right? And that was the biggest thing that hit. So how disappointed are we really? I mean, I said in my video that you'd be a mug not to anticipate this type of news because it's fucking EA.
Exactly. Like, it's just not worth getting worked up about. Like, you read it and it's like, ugh, really? All right, cool. Just again, same old.
Isn't it a case of just writing off this contract? I think the contract runs until 23 or something, 2023 or 2022. And unless some intervention comes in, EA will have that contract of an exclusivity until that point. So shouldn't we just write off any decent Star Wars games until then? You're a big fan of Star Wars.
Yeah, right? I'm like, they've released 2 console Star Wars games. They've done like shitty mobile names under the EA banner, but like that's kind of beside the point.
Mobile games are free for all, by the way. There's no exclusivity rights just on the mobile
games. EA like own the publisher still. But yeah, so they've done the 2 Battlefront games, neither of which were received perhaps as positively as everyone would have liked them to.
Yeah.
So surely Disney must just be like, right, come on, surely they gave them like a quota of the amount of games they have to make. Maybe they didn't, but if I was a higher up at Disney, I would be like, all right, guys, you've not delivered on our contract.
Yeah.
You're not, you know.
Well, apparently there is another one in development now that has not been
the Fallen Order is still, well, I was about to say alive and breathing, but we don't really know what it is.
Yeah, Jedi the Fallen Order, right? Yeah. That's the Respawn one. There's that one which we know fuck all about because Vince Zampella announced it from an auditorium during E3, and that's it, right? There's the other one which they have said that in cancelling the EA Vancouver game, or putting that on ice, we don't know what the status of that is for the future. They are making another game and bringing it in order to release it by the end of 2020, according to Jason Schreier, of course, our trusted source and spiritual leader. All hail the Schreier.
The Shrine
of Schreier. We should get a shrine for Schreier.
We should. Tart up the back wall a bit with just a load of pictures of Schreier.
Yeah, ironically, of course, for those of you who aren't in the know, because I got called out for calling him respected games journalist in today's video.
You do it every time. Yeah. There's always someone like, well, actually,
you lost. He said you lost me when you said respected games journalist Jason Schreier. And I said, no, actually, I lost you when I said there'd be jokes in this video.
Nice. I didn't see that one. That's good.
I just replied. And that was Gaz enabling smug mode for that. So, yeah, I mean, Star Wars. I mean, who would you give it to, though? If you were to rip out of EA's arms, would you like open free-for-all because competition is good? allow anyone to pitch to Disney and
I'd definitely lose any sort of exclusivity, but I wouldn't just be like, everyone have a Star Wars, you get a Star Wars, and you get a Star Wars.
There'd have to be some sort of like
a Disney have to like approve it.
Dragon's Den thing where they're like there's a board of people, and then people come and stand and like get really nervous and like, well, I want to make this Star Wars game.
Yeah, and you've got the fucking heads of Disney there, just like, I'm out.
Because literally EA is the antithesis of that, right? Because they are the big corporation making products that we don't know if anybody cares about. Whereas if you had some sort of like pitching arrangement set up where anybody could come in and say, listen, Disney, this is the film, this is the game that I want to make, this is how it looks.
Well, especially with Star Wars in like pop culture and cultural consciousness, there's a lot of animosity towards it these days because of the Disney movies.
Yeah.
No matter how you feel about them, you have to acknowledge that they're quite divisive now.
Yes.
Certainly more than they ever have been before, I'd say. So Disney have got to be looking like, right, well, we need something solid with Star Wars, like the Star Wars brand. We need a solid game or something like. The comics are meant to be doing really, really well. I've read like one of them and it was really good. Yeah. But that's just, it's not in the mainstream populace enough.
Yeah, of course.
So I would definitely encourage a non-exclusive setup where you can have all these different developers who specialize in different things. Like you could have your Naughty Dog Uncharted-esque one that was cancelled, the Visceral one.
Yeah.
Have that style one, a big adventure thing. And then if you want to keep doing your shootery ones, get someone to do those. Fucking get idsoft to do it, because that would be like some crazy over-the-top shooter. I've recently been watching footage of Rage 2, because I heard it was like announced and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'll maybe look at that. And I completely forgot about it. And then I was watching some today, and I'm like, I'm well up for Rage 2. I think it looks well good.
Looks pretty cool.
But yeah, just give the loan the Star Wars license to different people and let them tell different stories as well. Part of the problem, I think, with Battlefront is that there's either no story or it's there and it's shit.
Yes.
Or, in my opinion, I share this with the films a lot, is that it's more of like the same like time period, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's all around the original trilogy and those characters. I want to have something in the universe with lightsabers and the Force and those in, core ideas, but in different, completely separate from the Skywalker story or anything like that.
What I want them to do is to bring back and remake Star Wars Galaxies, the MMO. God, that was a great game.
I never played that one.
It's one of my favorite games when I was. They changed it. They put like jump to light speed expansion or something, and then my mates stopped playing it or whatever, and then I lost interest. But thinking back to it, that was one of the MMOs that had a truly sandbox feel to it, where like you can literally do anything and be anything, and and it'd take you like 3 months or something to become a Jedi in that game. It was that. It wasn't grindy though. I mean, there was plenty of things to do, but. I don't know, look up some videos on something on YouTube if you're interested. That was honestly the best Star Wars game I've played. I haven't played any of the what were the RPG ones?
KOTOR.
Yeah, I haven't played any of those.
I never got KOTOR. Played The Force Unleashed 1 and 2. I did enjoy them. They're not perfect. They're just kind of hack and slashers. But they're fun. You got some ridiculous Force powers, and it's just good fun to blow people up with Force pushes and lightning and shit. But on my personal favourite Star Wars game, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one's well up there, but Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 on the GameCube, that's the best bloody Star Wars game in my opinion, because it's all about the ships. It's a flight simulator, space combat action game, and it's so good because they're all the ships from the original trilogy. Like you got X-Wings, you got the Millennium Falcon, you got Y-Wings and all this shit. And you play some sections inspired by the movies. Like you can play... The first level is you do the Death Star trench run when you obviously blow it up in A New Hope. Then there's the Battle of Hoth where you're in the snowspeeder thing and you tie up the AT-ATs and all that. Yeah. But then there's other completely separate... I don't know if they're canon or not, but separate stories with like Luke Skywalker and Wedge doing shit in space, and it was just so fun because the combat was so spot on. Yeah. And it was easy to pick up, but then some bits were really hard because they just send so many at you at once. And you've got to, like, blowing up the Star Destroyers, you got to do like the 2 shields on the top, then one at the bottom, and then take out the bridge while other shit's going on. They've got cannons everywhere. It was just so good.
Cool. Talking of like space battles, did you see the pitch that Double Damage Games, the developer who made Rebel Galaxy, the original one, the pitch that they made to EA about making a Star Wars game? It was first-person cockpit kind of.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. But there seems similar sort of vein. And if they'd pitched that to Disney in this ideal, scenario,
I mean,
probably would have got greenlit.
That's the type. And they're a good developer. I mean, they've got Rebel Galaxy 2 coming out soon, and I feel like this game, Rebel Galaxy 2. I mean, I played the original Rebel Galaxy, space game, RPG type of thing, bit of a narrative going through it, but the combat is mainly broadside combat. So
you
turn your ship over and then you fire. There's no like dogfighting or anything like that. The pitch that they made to EA involved like flying the Millennium Falcon in like dogfighting combat and X-wing fighters and all that sort of stuff, which looked fantastic. That's what you want from this type of game, right? But they are making Rebel Galaxy 2, which I think may have been that Star Wars game had they have got the license, and that's coming out soon. I'm not sure when that is, but I definitely check that out. Any of you guys interested in that type of gameplay, Double Damage game, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, I think it's called, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to look here when it is due. I don't think it does have a release date yet, but it does look pretty damn cool.
I just want more Star Wars. I love the idea of taking like the original thing and then running with it and changing it in different ways. Like I really like cover songs because you've got the core song, but you've changed it. You've like changed the genre, or exactly. So Star Wars is obviously sci-fi space opera film franchise. Take that, do a shooter, first-person action shooter, or do a dark narrative-driven RPG or something.
Yeah. Just like different types of games within the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're blasting out these films every year. Why can't they blast out some bloody games?
Star Wars is so rich in their lore, and they've crapped on all of the, admittedly complex original canon. When Disney took over, they were like, right, if it's not one of the core films or one of our like series or whatever, it's not canon anymore. So all the games are gone. Force Unleashed doesn't count. All the books don't count. So there's all of that to draw from and re-canonize if you want, or change certain bits. So there's so much material.
Reload that canon.
Reload it.
Reload that canon. Have you ever been to like a theme park, like a Disney theme park, and rode on a Star Wars ride?
No. It sounds like my dream, though.
Yeah, there's one in...
I don't really go to theme parks. I never went as a kid because my mum hates them. She hates going to theme parks, so we just never went.
Obviously, you'd have to go to Euro Disney. There was a decent one in Disney World I went to recently. But it got me thinking, right? Imagine, like, all these theme parks that are made on the back of these big film franchises. Imagine what a gaming theme park would be like. With, like, rides are like Uncharted. You go on an Uncharted ride, or you go on a... like The Last of Us, like a Naughty Dog theme park. That'd be cool, right? They might have got enough people through the doors to be able to pay for the thing, but that just the idea of that concept would be nerd heaven, right?
Nerd heaven.
You thought theme parks in Disney was nerdy, because it fucking is, or like Harry Potter. They think that was nerdy. A theme park for gamers would be the nerdiest thing I could even think of.
It's going to be a load of fat, sweaty guys having the time of their life.
I'm down.
I'm up for that, man. That'd be so sick. Let me be the one to blow up the Death Star. I want to be the hero. Can't do it in the real world.
So that's it. That's pretty. And there's other things going on throughout the week, but we are running into like half an hour worth of
already,
and we haven't even gotten into the topics yet. That's just us chewing the fat. So let's talk about PEGI. And what something that you've prepared for us in terms of talking about PEGI.
Yeah, I was going to do a bit of a video on it, but then I decided it would work better as a conversation.
What's happened with PEGI this week?
So it's not actually new news. It just came to my attention because Games Industry Biz just ran a piece kind of explaining what happened. They actually did it back in August, and they said...
Who are PEGI? Like PEGI are the...
So PEGI are... people who don't know. Name is the Pan-European Game Information.
So they're the European equivalent of ESRB.
So they're the games rating body in Europe. They run in about 38 countries.
Yeah.
Some of those, they've got proper like legislative power. So the government will consult them on legal matters involving games and how to move forward with there. Most of them don't, though. There is a ratings body, and that's about it.
Okay.
They've got several age ratings. So there's 3, 7, 12, 16, and 18, which is much clearer than ESRB's lettering system, which doesn't really... Some of them have numbers in there as well, but it doesn't really make it that clear. And their ratings are dumb anyway. But I'll get onto that in a minute. So they've also got what they call content descriptors, and that's when it includes like violence or bad language, or sex. So if there's violence, there'll be like a fist, like a little picture of a fist on the box. If there's drugs, there'll be like a syringe with a mysterious fluid in it.
I mean, obviously,
they're quite recognizable in
case you can't read. You know what a drug is.
You get the box. Like, oh look, it's Call of Duty. You flip it over. It's like, oh look, there's violence in it.
There's drugs.
There's going to be that, and that.
Violence. Okay. All the other bad things in the world.
All the
problems.
Nasties.
All the problems in the world that we can all blame on games, right?
All the means by which we can have violence, a good fucking time.
Well, yeah.
So they are. So as of August 2018, they said that they were going to add a new one, which is for in-game purchases.
Microtransactions, right?
Yes, but not just microtransactions, because it's not specific in what constitutes an in-game purchase, because that can mean anything from a full-fledged Witcher 3 Blood and Wine expansion, or your $1 red dot in Call of Duty.
So they're adding this descriptor to indicate that after buying this game, you might be
expected to pay more,
or exposed to any sort of request to purchase additional. Something additional, like it could be a DLC, it could be a little microtransaction, it could be like a huge thing, like a huge expansion to the game, or it might be a skin.
Yeah, so it's for games where in the game itself, in the menus and that, there is a means to access things which require you to pay real money.
Yeah, an online store, essentially.
Yeah, essentially, but to access through the game itself, not through the dashboard or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they've kind of put this out in response to a survey by a company called Ipsos, who are a market research company. And it's a bit of a weird figure to explain, so just try and bear with me.
Ipsos. Tell us about Ipsos.
So they found that 2 out of 5 parents of children who play games, so that's not 2 out of 5 children, 2 out of 5 parents whose children play games, right?
Yes.
Gaming parents.
I'm with you so far.
They say that their children use in-game purchases. You play games using in-game purchases, right?
Got that.
Of those 2 out of 5, 80% say that they've got some kind of agreement with the child about that in-game purchasing.
Okay.
So that's, you might get weekly allowance. You can spend this much on Fortnite skins and shit this week.
I thought you were going to say 80% of those spend money on Fortnite. Well, it's probably a lot more than that.
It probably is, to be honest.
Probably a lot more than that. They made I read this headline, sorry to diverge for 1 second, but $2.6 billion I think they made off Fortnite last year.
Well, that's mad.
$2.6 billion.
Oh,
that is fucking huge. That's about 10% of the whole gaming industry's worth, right?
I read somewhere that Netflix don't even consider it's like either HBO or ABC, big movie TV network. They don't consider them their competition. They consider Fortnite their competition.
It's not 10%, it's 1%. So I'm getting confused there. But it's more than 1% of fucking the whole gaming industry just on one fucking game, which is mind blowing, man. The dominance of that game in the industry right now is fucking.
The folks over at Epic must just be like, give me all the money.
I mean, they fucking.
Well, they are doing well for post-launch support and all that, so I do give them credit for
doing something
updating
well. They're doing something well. And there's no wonder why everybody's trying to mimic what they do in terms of monetization, in terms of customer support and everything like that, because they are setting the. I mean, if your only metric of success is the amount of money that you make, that they are a role model for a lot of these big greedy. I mean, they could be greedy, they could be not. I mean, they could be a role model for that. That middle tier developer who just wants to be able to pay the bills. It's like what are these guys doing?
Because it is a job,
not just being greedy in terms of like how do we monetize our games a little bit better in order to pay the fucking bills, because that can be a problem for a lot of developers. So not just the greedy ones. I mean, there's lessons to be learned from Fortnite, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So PEGI's motivation for this seems to be not about censoring games and keeping things out or whatever. They don't really care about getting rid of microtransactions on like a moral basis. They've been quite neutral about it. It's more informing parents, because obviously parents are the ones buying the thing. It's going to be their credit cards attached to the product and all that. So they want to make parents, as a consumer and as a responsible adult caregiver and all that, aware of the presence of these in video games. So I think it's
so this is new. This is new now. This is coming in now, because I'm pretty sure I've heard of this in the past.
They said they wanted it to go live by the end of, well, when they said it this year, so last year, like a month ago.
At the end of last year.
But I don't know if it has gone, because I don't have
but it's imminent.
A new game. Yeah, it's something they're really rolling out. And I do think it's a good step. And they make clear that they also say this is a step. It's not like our, final thing. And ESRB were under criticism for it when they did it back in February last year. It was very kind of just tokenistic and like, I'll take that and people will shut up. They'll stop having a go at microtransactions. Yeah, because they're owned by it's called something like the Entertainment Games Association or something like that.
Yeah, ASA, right?
Yeah.
So they're set up to represent the corporations in the industry, right? Their interests lie in representing these big corporations. So you can see where their motives might not be in the same place as us, for example. So anything that the ESRB does, it's not for the gamers. It's for other things, right? Yeah, for their own interests and all that. So I do think putting this marker on the thing, on the boxes, is a good idea. That's an important note. It's on physical editions, because it's already a thing that you have to do on digital. On digital marketplace, right? From a company called the International Age Rating Coalition, the IARC. They sound important.
The word coalition sounds real fancy, doesn't it?
It does, sounds like some sort of like
government,
some sort of fucking war room coalition thing, isn't it? They're set up to. We've got to get locked down on these in-game purchases. Rambo smashing through a window trying to take out the microtransactions.
Yeah, they've all got like bandanas and shit, war paint. That would be awesome. So they make sure that it's in all digital products, and now PEGI are being like, right, we're going to put it on all physical ones, so then you can actually, see it. You're in a shop. I imagine the motive is like, you're in a shop, your kid's like, oh, can I get this one? And parents pick it up, and you have a look with your skepticism, like there's a macho bloke with a gun on the front. This is probably going to be quite violent. Flip it over, see a fist, see, a syringe, and then you see it's a hand holding a card, like a credit card, and it's like, oh, there's in-game purchases. Yeah. My issue with it, while I do think it is a good idea and a good step in the right direction, it's not really enough, because a lot of those things those symbols probably aren't going to mean anything to a lot of parents.
My initial reaction is exactly the same. It's like, who pays attention to that shit? Who picks up a game? Which parent picks up a game and says, hang on a minute, before we buy this, I'm just going to check on the back to make sure there's no hands, no fists, no drugs, and no microtransactions, because otherwise you're fucked, Jimmy. I mean, nobody's parents does that, right? It's like, is this a good game? Are all your mates playing it? How long are you going to be playing this before you ask me for another game? What, 3 months? Fine, I'll buy it. I mean, surely the conversation is more along the lines of that.
And I feel like anyone who's aware, a parent who's aware of microtransactions, aware of in-game purchases as like a problem, will already know kind of what games they're going to be in. They're going to be in your Call of Duty.
As informed, right,
Yeah, and it's going to be in those kind of things.
The problem is information and informing parents and informing people that these type of things are like more prevalent and prolific than they might expect. The parents just might let their kids get on with playing games, and then it's sorry to say, but like screens are like a parent's godsend, right? Your kids are just so demanding of your time as a parent. They are, like, I'm a parent, and I love my kids. I really love my kids, but sometimes they're just so demanding of your time, of your energy and resources, whatever. I never ignore my kids. I'm not saying that I'm a bad parent, but sometimes you just need some headspace, right? Yeah. Gaming is a great thing for that, as well as TV or whatever. So like in a parent's mind, a lot of the time, gaming will be just like a cheap babysitter.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's like you pay £30 and then the child is distracted. Or I mean, maybe I'm not giving credit for the older kids out there. Maybe, you know, for young kids especially. That's where my kids are anyway. But to serve that purpose, right? As you know, all it is to parents is something that distracts or keeps your kids busy, keeps them out of your hair, because there's parents out there who like, you should just get out of my fucking face, you know, just go and do something. I've said that in the past. I'm not proud of it, but for those people, like they're largely going to be ignorant of the fact that there are additional monetization things in there, and it's the responsibility of the parents to educate themselves to know exactly what your kids are being exposed to and susceptible to, and that's the whole loot box thing, right? And that's a big part of the loot box drive to raise attention, that your kids could be gambling in their spare time in this hobby and learning the neural pathways and getting all that, you know, getting primed for being a gambling addict when they're older by playing these games. And it's all part of the responsibility as a parent to make sure that your kids aren't doing things that might harm them in the future.
Exactly. Just like you look at anything, like what they're eating, because if they're eating all of this sugar, they're going to get health problems down the line. And so if they're playing these games with these horrendous loot box systems, they're going to develop gambling-like things in their brain, which psychologists and scientists have concluded.
Lots of studies
in Australia. I think they specifically said it is the same process as gambling, but they still couldn't quite define it as that on their current like legal
definition
things. So one thing that is a quote from them that they said they really want to try and do is allow parents to decide whether and how they want to monitor and or limit a child's spending. So they're definitely going at it from the guardianship, parental responsibility angle, without trying to be like, oh, loot boxes are the worst fucking thing in the world, which I mean, they are, but they've been quite pragmatic about it, and it seems to me like a better step than ESRB, who already have problems with their rating system itself. Because like a good example I found, which I'm totally going to nick, is Halo, sci-fi action shooter where you're shooting aliens and you're a big hunky guy in a suit of armor. It was rated M for mature, which means it's got violence, it's got this, that, and the other.
By the ESRB, right?
Yes, by ESRB. And then GTA is also rated mature, but they are wildly different games in terms of content and presentation and all that. They're both action games. They're both quite violent.
Yeah, there's hookers and there's like loads of like
there's adult themes,
a lot of violence and you know, there's torture in
GTA 5. There's proper torture, and it's like giving an Avengers movie, which is quite, you know, fun, colourful, family friendly action, giving it out the same rating as a Tarantino movie. Where people are getting mutilated and shit, and like Pulp Fiction, there's a gimp, and he's raping them, and then they come in and they rape the other guy. They're not the same thing, right?
Are you trying to get us demonetized? It seems a bit ridiculous that now you put it like that. It definitely does seem ridiculous. ESRB, man, sort your shit out
because they've got so many descriptors. Like PEGI, their tobacco thing is use of tobacco. Like it's whether you see someone smoking, whether there's cigarettes on a table or whatever. In ESRBs, they are separate. It's like images of cigarettes, use of cigarettes, and all that. There's so many more descriptors than PEGI's. And PEGI aren't perfect. I mean, they're quite strict on certain things and really not on others. But then I think the real, not problem, but like the way to make this sort of thing really matter is for groups like PEGI and ESRB. ESRB aren't going to do it, as we've already said. They've got their own vested interests. But they need to put pressure on the people who can make changes, like the governments, even in the countries where they don't have any legislative powers. They need to try and make it clear that the loot box phenomenon is a danger to kids. Because microtransactions, though we may not like them, it's hard to argue that there is anything like harmful about them, because it's just you are paying for something and it's just a product, and we don't like them because we don't want to pay for something in our game that we've already paid for, like morally and conceptually and everything. But a loot box, there is exactly there is not loads at the moment because there's not enough research on it, but there is evidence to suggest that they are exactly the same as gambling.
Yeah, there's a link between loot boxes and addiction, gambling addiction. Like that feedback that you get from pulling the arm of a one-armed bandit and waiting and anticipating for that result is the same type of result, the same type of feeling and experience it is when you're spinning the wheel on the loot box and just trying to get that skin you really want, or something, that high value item that you could essentially sell for in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and then like second party black markets and shit. Yeah. But then a lot of the problem with the legislation is that the definition of gambling is fixed on the word like cash or money. You have to be able to cash out. And that's the restriction when it comes to loot boxes, because in game you can't trade in that skin. So you open a box, you get a skin you've already got. You can't then trade that in for more real money. Yeah, but I mean, I
think what they're missing, and this is why we've said before in the coverage that we've done on the channel, that we've created on the channel, is that it doesn't matter whether it's classed as gambling or not. If it allows your kids or allows anybody, if it generates this mental or this psychological feedback, it generates this desire, addiction, this compulsion to want to carry on and spend money because you're after something, that in essence makes it exactly the same as gambling from the point of view of the brain. Yeah, your brain is responding the same way. From a physiological point of view, it's exactly the same as gambling. Now, whether the result of that is that you are up $5,000 because you won the bet versus you can't cash out, and that's immaterial to me. No. I mean, I think that's where a lot of people, we shouldn't be trying to prove that loot boxes are gambling. We should be trying to prove why loot boxes are harmful in the same way that gambling is. Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, this isn't going to be something that's going to be able to be stopped anytime soon, because it takes time for these researchers to process it, and they need to look at kids who start off gambling through loot boxes and like over time to be able to determine if they end up leaning towards traditional gambling methods.
It's difficult. And it's easy for us to say because we can see exactly when we've got hands dirty in terms of the whole mechanics of this and how we've played games and we've seen how they work. Whereas the people sitting from the outside, the legislators or the other people doing the research or whatever, they haven't got that hands dirty. And it's the same thing. Like we talk about legislation around cigarettes and how they were seen when they first came out. They were seen as don't want government making so much money off cigarette sales and things like that. It was only after all the research and people done studies on the harmful effects of smoking, that governments woke up and said, hang on a minute, this isn't good for the population, it's good for people. So they bring in legislation to try and stop people from doing that. And I think that given time, with enough pressure from communities, and so long as people are still writing letters to their local representatives and government, and enough pressure from socially, and that's our department, right? That's what we're here for. That's what we do as a channel. We lend our voices to amplify that signal, essentially. So long as enough people are doing that, then eventually it will get to the point where people wake up and realize that there are harmful effects of these. This is turned into a loot box conversation. We are talking about PEGI here, but I guess the conversation is, what role do these bodies play in this whole process, right? Like, what do we expect from them in terms of what can they do to help get to where we want to be?
Well, because in many of these 38 countries, they are there solely as a ratings body, and they have no legal authority. When the game comes to their region, they approve it and then slap it on, and then it goes to wherever. Goes to fucking Turkey or Ukraine or whatever. But then I think they still should be vocal in their position on this sort of thing for it to be taken seriously, because people in, you know, governments, a lot of them still don't. They're not, obviously, generally they're not gamers at all, and that's fine. It's your hobby, whatever. But they need to be aware that the games industry is enormous now. Yes. It is massive. What was it? GTA 5 is now the most profitable entertainment product whatsoever. Yeah, like it's not an album, it's not a movie, it's a video game, right? And I think companies like PEGI, who are well established, they brand so many games, they cover all of them pretty much in Europe. The UK have the BBFC doing it sometimes, who are the film classification board. They sometimes do games. But for a company like PEGI, who are dedicated to games and do have a lot of influence, they should be trailblazers for this sort of thing and making it clear that the loot box thing is a danger to kids, and it will most likely lead to these gambling addictions in the future.
I think my observation is I don't think that these bodies have enough recognised authority to be able to pursue that type of thing, and that's the problem, right? It's like there's nobody who's endowed them with the authority to be able to go ahead and do what you're suggesting. So I think you know, there's no point getting angry about these bodies, towards these bodies and being frustrated towards them, because they're simply outside of their remit, and that's just the state of affairs.
That's why I do think this is a good move from PEGI, because it is a step. Yeah. I just think they should be writing to these governments of all the different European nations who they operate within. They should be contacting them and reminding them of the importance of gaming industry on, you know, the public and all that, and the dangers that certain things within it can pose. Like when governments get upset about video game violence, even though there's documented proof that there is no link between playing video games causing manifestations of real violence. However, there now seems to be evidence that playing games with loot boxes is the same as gambling, so it's likely that will lead to manifestations of actual gambling.
That's true. And I think all we can do for our part is keep talking about it, keep having these discussions, keep monitoring what's happening, keep putting pressure on our local representatives and raising awareness of it, and talking with people calmly, rationally, and informing them of the dangers, and just spreading the word. I think in general, having this conversation, it might be boring for a lot of people who don't care about microtransactions and loot boxes. Like, I don't care, I just ignore them and just play my game. I mean, I get that point of view, but there is a reason for us having these conversations, and that is it, because these bodies don't have enough power, don't seem to be doing what we feel that they should be doing, and we feel like there are dangers associated with these types of things, loot boxes specifically. So we're going to keep talking about it, but apologies if we've bored a lot of you there, but it is important to us for a lot of reasons, because it gets shit done.
Got to keep talking.
So that is it. So that's our talk about PEGI, right? Is there anything before we move on?
No, I think old PEGI Mitchell she's leaving the Queen Vic. Is she still alive?
I don't know.
Last who plays I think she is. She must be ancient now.
PEGI Mitchell. Like Barbara Windsor.
Yeah, that's it. Barbara Windsor. Is she still kicking?
I'm pretty sure she is.
She's just well fucking old.
You're talking about old Babs?
From what, Carry On?
Yeah.
See, I know things.
Carry On, that scene where she's doing her straight exercises and her bra flips off, and matron. Way before my time, but still funny.
Oh yeah, classics.
Who doesn't love a girl's bra popping off?
It's just funny. It's like a bloke's pants pinging off. It's funny.
It's not funny in the same way, though. Right?
Well, it's because
each their own. I'm not here judging.
Much more unpleasant than boobs are.
I'm not here judging. I mean, we've talked about what you get up to in your own time, and that's up to you.
Well,
I just happen to find that a girl's bra pinging off a lot more enjoyable than a guy's pants. But that is your prerogative.
It's
anyway, let's move on. Okay, we have got a couple of questions to go through and a couple of comments too. And if you guys are in the mood to ask us a question, pick our brains about anything, obviously leave them down in the comments. We haven't taken these from the Discord on the Patreon Discord, right? So for those of you who don't know what the Patreon Discord is, it's the Discord channel that everyone who is a patron, who has donated and helps us bring you this content, they get access to the Patreon Discord. So rather than post a post on Patreon if you've missed those posts. If you're thinking that you've missed those posts, you haven't. We've just been posting on Patreon Discord. So get on the Discord if you want to converse with us. I've been a lot more lively on there recently because I do like chatting with you guys about things that are going on. And so if you do want to get some questions in, that's probably the best place. Although, I wouldn't rule out putting a question on the Discord. The Patreon page itself. You can do that totally, or on the comments of this podcast if you are watching on YouTube or wherever. With that said, though, we've got the first question from Not That Rob Lowe this week. Question, pretty good gamers. Here we go. Either for here on the podcast, obviously. I've got Sekiro on pre-order. We'll let that one slide, Rob. But I don't know which format to finally get it on. I have both the PS4 Pro and an Xbox One X. God, he's fucking bragging, isn't he?
Yeah,
I've got everything. I've got the biggest, best tiers of these consoles. I've got money coming out my fucking ears. Is that what you're saying, Rob?
If you got that much money, fucking get both.
Flouncy. Yeah. Question sorted. Right, move on. The PS is by far my machine of preference, but I've been very impressed by the quality of Xbox One X. It is better performance from what I've all that. It's like terafloppage.
Yeah, from what I've heard, yeah.
I mean, you can't argue with that terafloppage.
I love a good teraflop.
Okay, we've talked about this already. Moving on. Head and obvious choice says I should go for Xbox version, but Heart says PlayStation. Any thoughts? I think this is simply a case of well, there's a couple of factors. The first thing would be, what's your favorite controller? I mean, it might boil down to that's the difference. I think my Xbox has got the edge in terms of performance, so you might, if that is a factor for you, then you'd lean towards the Xbox. Depends what controller's your favorite. I play a lot more PlayStation, but I think I prefer the Xbox. I don't know. But that's a personal taste thing again. It
also depends on what kind of game as well, but I think I do generally prefer the PlayStation controller because I like the symmetry of it. However, I really like the triggers on Xbox controllers.
That's a good point. And I think in terms the other factor that I can think of that might weigh into this decision might be where you see yourself playing this game in 5 years' time or whatever. I mean, if you're thinking about keeping this game, if it's a physical version, you're probably more likely to be able to play it in a few years' time if you buy it on Xbox. Yeah, because backwards compatibility is one of their key selling features.
That's a good one. I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, that's a good point.
But I think on PlayStation, there's nothing confirmed. I do personally think that it'd be out of their minds if they didn't.
Yeah, it seems like
go forward with the same policy, as in you can play PS4 games on your PS5. If they didn't do that, oh my God, how stupid would they be? Because you take that unique selling point away from Microsoft, then, right? You take that that market advantage away.
Exactly.
And it's a simple thing to do anyway. But those are just my thoughts on it, Rob. But I mean, like Henry here says, I mean, get on both if you're so rich, isn't it? Just get on both. You don't have to fucking worry about it then. You rich bastards.
They're doing a Switch port. Get on Switch. Oh, can you imagine playing? I think it would be. I haven't even seen anyone play Dark Souls on the Switch in the real world, but I'd love to, because obviously it's such a hard game and it's such a small system. You see some guy on the bus losing his mind because he's stuck on the boss because it's so fucking hard. And you look over and suppose, he's playing a Switch. Oh, he looks like he hates his life. Dark Souls. That's what it is. Yeah. Same with Sekiro. But Sekiro does look kind of cool, but I'm not that fussed up. I'm not really into FromSoft games. I played a lot. I played Bloodborne and finished it, but I'm not entirely sure how much I enjoyed it because it was just so frustrating.
I'm going to see how reviews come out on that, I think.
Yeah, I am interested. I really like the art style and the combat. They've said they've changed up, so it's all about blade on blade. It's like blocking and parrying, but sort of different. And you got to wait for exactly the right moment. And they've been tweaking animations frame by frame to add so much more precision to it, and I think that's really interesting.
The one thing that got me interested was that they said that they won't be punishing you for dying, and you won't be losing your progress like you do in the other Souls-like games. And I think that's what completely kills my motivation in a game, is if you die and you lose 20 minutes of progress, you flip your shit. And
especially as it's quite a grindy game to get better. You'll get to something and be like, I'm not high enough level. You go back, grind away, get yourself up, get all your what the fuck are they called in Bloodborne? Is it blood orbs, blood
blood
something. It's like bat spray. You lose all that, and it's like, oh, I've just spent like 20 minutes killing all these pricks. I mean, and I've got to kill everyone to get to it, and then frustrating.
You know me. You know how angry I can get, and you can imagine me flipping my shit with the game. I sulk. I sulk for fucking ages, and then I come out the sulk about half an hour later. I did it with Neo. I did it with Neo, right? I sulked with that fucking game, and then it drew me back and fucking got me. I was like, fuck this.
That's the thing. My motivation to finish Bloodborne wasn't because I was having loads of fun or in love with the story. I just wanted to fucking accomplish it, and I wanted it to end.
Can you put it on really easy?
No, there's no difficulty modes. That I'm aware of. And then when you finish it, it's like, here's New Game Plus. Why the fuck am I doing that? And they stack. There's New Game Plus. All right, great if you're into that, but I'm fucking not.
I mean, in life in general, I get punished enough. Just by being a father, the kids punish me if I'm not on my game. In terms of, they'll push boundaries and they'll just take the piss, right? And they're punishing me, like they're punishing me for being a human, for being a father,
for being a little cuck.
I get punished by them. There's strains on a marriage. Anyone who's married will know it's difficult, right? You get punished for no reason, and it's not your fault ever, right? You know this if you're married, right? So and it's not just that, like you get punished all over the place for just being an adult and having adult responsibilities. You've got bills to pay, and credit cards punish you for this and that. There's so much stress, right? So much stress. I want to play a game and I want to chill out. Escapism. I don't want to feel like throwing my controller and smashing it. That's just not for me. It's not my thing.
As well, I wasn't motivated to get through Bloodborne, like in terms of story. Because, there's loads of story and loads of lore and all that. But you've got to watch, like, 30 YouTube videos and read pages and pages of Wikia. And I'm like, it's cool that that's there and there's this much depth, but why is it not in the actual game? Like, littered around. Resident Evil's really good at doing little lore things. You can find out what happened to this particular house because you read diaries and you read notes or computer things. Yeah. It's really good for that. So, when it comes to Sekiro, if the story's more present and there's a more linearly constructed active narrative, then that would entice me significantly more.
Okay, let's move on. DK Coley comes with the next question on the Patreon Discord, and he says, I would, as someone who has just started PC gaming after a lifetime of consoles, saying that he would like to ask a question, what PC games should a Masterrace newbie try first? And he did indicate his desire to play some strategy games. So you're not a PC gamer anyway.
No, but I'm very much in that place where I want to go PC for mainly just the volume of games you can get, but I can't commit to the financial investment right now.
What PC games should a Masterrace newbie try first? I would say try out
Masterrace newbie. Is that like the Hitler Youth? If you're a Masterrace newbie,
it's exactly what it is. It's that you've been indoctrinated. He's getting his...
Get your little beret and your knife and you'll be golden.
That's it. So what would I recommend? I mean, obviously strategy games, there's so many different types. And if you like your war games, the Total War series is a good place to start. But although I wouldn't recommend them in the current iterations because they're just so heavy on microtransactions and segmenting off different content behind paywalls. I wouldn't recommend. But there's totally loads of awesome strategy games, and there's so many indie games out there. I would, however, veer away from games that are in early access on Steam because there's so many of them, and you might think, oh, I'll buy into it now. And I've been stung by this myself, and there's one thing I wanted to talk about which I didn't really have time, but I replayed They Are Billions this week. For like a couple of hours. Now, They Are Billions was a game that was launched into early access over 12 months ago, and I played it for a good time while I was, after I first bought it. It is a strategy game, and it was in development. It was just like the sandbox, or just like a single level, like an arcade type of level that you could play at the time. And they promised this single player story campaign, which over a year later they haven't delivered on. And this is one of the things that, you know, it's one of the problems and the things you have to look out for when buying an early access game is how much of good reputation does this developer have for completing the games and things that they promise. Because I stopped playing the game, and almost 12 months later, I've gone back to it this week, and almost nothing has changed. Yeah. Almost nothing has changed, and I'm pretty disappointed, to be honest. And it's another time. I mean, I did get my money's worth in terms of gameplay hours when it first came out, and I enjoyed that. But still, they promised me certain experience at the end of it, which they haven't. It seems like they're only having an update once every couple of months. You've really got to be careful. Yeah. I mean, I would recommend that game if you know what you're getting into, and you know that you're getting the version that you're paying for, this version that you're getting, and I wouldn't expect anything else. But you do have to look out for that. They Are Billions is a decent experience as it is, and if you're into that kind of type of thing. And in terms of how should you get started, I think one thing that PC gaming gives you that you can't get with console gaming is just the amount of decent indie games. Yeah. And I think that you know, again, stay away from the early access titles, but there's just like, especially strategy is the perfect place to start. Indie strategy games are really cool. Like this, I think they brought it over to console eventually, but there's like RimWorld, which is a great one, and Prison Architect, which is a great one. You know, those types of kind of 2D top-down strategy games, they're quite cool. I think Kingsway is a great game. I've always loved that game as an indie game. There's other strategy games like FTL, which stands up even FTL faster than that. Yeah, FTL is a great strategy game, and it's one game that a lot of people are looking to for inspiration, coming up with new. They're subset games, I think they're called. They made the most recent what was it called? I can't remember the game that they released last year. It wasn't quite as good as FTL, but I definitely recommend that one. And check out the indie games and stuff like that. But be careful on Steam, because it's just trounced with shit. Just look at like top indie Steam games lists, or things like that. I think, and it depends on what genre you're into anyway. If you're not into strategy so much, just do some research on it. I mean, I couldn't give you any more advice than that. And you'll be a fully fledged member of the PC Masterrace before you know it, Mr. DK Colley. So what stopped you getting into the PC Masterrace then? Is it? Oh,
it's just mainly financially right now. Like
taking that leap.
Yeah, it's one of those where once you make the leap, you get access to so many more games and so many good sales, like famous Steam sales, Black Friday sales, all that, and convenience of PC gaming. And I generally favour physical, but I can't deny the convenience of digital and the breadth of games again. Just download them, you're sorted. But that financial leap is something I'm not quite there for right now.
Gotcha.
I'll definitely move to PC eventually, but just not yet.
Not yet. You're not ready for it.
I'm kind of tentatively working around when next gen comes out. This is kind of sort of in my head, is what's the difference really going to be like between console and PC then?
Yeah.
Because PS4, it runs the games as well as I need to run them. I'm not really like a performance enthusiast. I was going to say snob, but
that's the right word. That's the right word.
I'm not that fast. 60 frames is cool. I'm fine with 30. You know, like as long as I can play it and it's stable.
Yeah.
I'd like 60, obviously. It's ideal.
You can see me scowling at you.
Yeah. No, but like 30.
I'm already casting judgment on you.
30's workable.
I wasn't going to call
deal
you
with it.
A console scrub. All right, I was going to call you
a console scrub. I am a proud console scrub. No, I'm not proud.
60 frames or GTFO, isn't it?
I'll stick with my consoles for now because it's comfy and I can chill out.
It's more convenient and cheaper, that's for sure. There's a lower barrier. So Michael's got the final patron question. I also have a question for the podcast. With the recent split of Bungie from Activision, it would seem like there is a possibility for AAA studios to self-publish, and the role of a publisher in this industry may really be going away. Current AAA studios are unable to split mostly because they don't own any of the IPs or are directly owned by the publisher. But as these studios are milk dry and closed, publishers might just slowly die as the indie studios grow in size while keeping their self-publishing strategy. I'm interested in your thoughts about this. This is a multifaceted question here, but in terms of, I think the industry, in terms of self-publishing as a AAA development studio, it's difficult because you have to keep up with these marketing budgets of the big publishers, right? You cannot compete on that level. However, I think that the internet and the way that the industry is set up now with the role that influencers and streamers and that have to play in the industry, as in getting promotion, and it more and more now you see people paying promotional money for, you know, to get streamers to play the games. Like if you can get a decent streamer playing your game, then you're going to sell some units. And I think that the more and more that becomes prevalent, the more sway, the more of the power comes away from the big gaming media outlets in terms of promoting games and things like that. The more power comes to streamers and content creators and people like that, the more feasible it is for those middle level developers to be able to make a good, decent game. And I mean, I say middle developers, but it's hard to be a AAA developer without a big publisher behind you because of the amount of money that you're not able to spend versus the AAAs. But I think that it's increasingly more feasible because all you have to do is make a good game, right? Yeah. And if everyone's talking about the good game, everyone's playing your game because it's good, then you'll sell loads and loads of units. You've seen this time and time again. You've seen indie games sell fuckloads because loads of people are buying it. The one example that I've got off the top of my head is Stardew Valley, right? That was one guy, Eric Barone, who made that game in his basement or wherever he took 5 years to make it. He sold shitloads on word of mouth and by people and streamers playing it. Minecraft did the same thing, right? From the very beginning, Minecraft, before it got bought out by Microsoft, was developed by what's the fucking name of the Mojang, right? They were an independent studio and they fucking sold loads. All you got to do, if you're an independent developer, or if you're like AAA, if you AA want to be AAA, you want to self-publish, you just have to make a fucking good game that people are going to play. It's that easy. Just make the fucking game good. Don't worry about the monetization. It monetizes itself when you sell the fucking thing. When millions of people buy the fucking game, just make a decent game. Who'd have thought Stardew Valley would have sold multiple millions of copies? Look at the game. Just look at the game. No fucking high-end graphics. None of this. It's
fucking like farming sim.
It's a 2D farming sim made with like pixel graphics, and it's made a shitloads of money.
Word of mouth is the most powerful marketing tool, in my opinion. Like for anything, like I'll go see a movie. If like my friends recommend it, it's like, oh, I saw this, it's really good, and I'm like, oh, cool, maybe I'll check it out.
I think this is what the big publishers have got wrong, right? They pour loads of money into advertising and marketing to get people to buy their games because the games aren't that good, and because they're technically and creatively redundant a lot of the time.
Yeah, they're not innovative and they don't create,
especially the early new ideas. Right?
We're talking about like your Call of Duties and your Assassin's Creeds. They're not pushing their boundaries because they're going to make money.
Being creative. They're there the only reason that they're there is to make as much money as possible. But in order to make money, to sell the game, because nobody would play it otherwise, they throw all this promotional money into it and all this marketing into it, so that takes the budgets really high, which means they've got to use this shitty monetization techniques in order to make some of that money back. That's why they throw in all these microtransactions, loot boxes, or however fucking else they can pillage people's bank accounts. It's all a really bad circle, and all they have to do is make a fucking good game, and that is it. All they have to do is make a good game. And it was the CD Projekt Red dude, Marcin Nowinski, right, who said it in an interview with his investors.
Yes.
He said it pays to be among the best because there's so much competition among the best games, the higher tier games these days. Like they made The Witcher. It pays to be among the best, and that's what he's looking for Cyberpunk. It doesn't matter how he's going to monetize that game. He doesn't, leave the bullshit, leave greed to others and all that shit. That's the bottom line, right? You just have to make a good game.
I mean, just look at Red Dead Redemption 2. it's got like microtransactions for the gold and all that in now, but that wasn't there at launch because they didn't have any of the online component. A lot of gaming enthusiasts and people who were like in the know knew they were coming anyway. But that game sold phenomenally well because it's a good game and word of mouth. I mean, yeah, you can argue paid reviews or whatever, but it had great reviews and people do pay attention to that. And then if your mates are playing, it's like, oh, this is really good. That's going to inform your decisions.
That's it. Just make a good game.
Just make a good fucking game.
That's it. Simple. They're focusing on the wrong things. They're focusing on the money and bad monetization methods in order to make money, when they should just be to make money. Just make a good game. I just
make a good game, and then the money will come.
I love what CD Projekt are doing and the way that they talk about games like that, because they definitely the ones to be setting the barrier for setting the standards.
Yes, for like business practice and all that.
So we are nearing the end of the podcast now. My throat's starting to go. I do want to read a couple of comments from the general YouTube things, because a couple of them are funny, right? Before we finish. But for any of you guys who do want to ask a question for next week's podcast, specifically patrons, head over to the Discord and heed the call when I put it out. So the first comment, I think it was on the Monday video, the Not the Gaming News episode. This guy comments, "That was obviously a joke," in brackets, obviously quoting me. And then his comment is, "I'm not so sure about that. This channel has turned into a sloppy gash."
Sloppy gash.
Says Mr. Wild Times. It turned into a sloppy gash. What? Well, he means it's been fucked so much that it's turned into a sloppy gash, right?
I'm literally fucking picture, because when I hear sloppy,
don't picture a sloppy gash.
Well, no. When I hear sloppy, I picture porridge. So I'm imagining
porridge gash,
a porridgey, like lumpy, gloopy, horrible
gash.
And gash is one of my favourite words for vagina anyway, because it's just so unpleasant. Like
gash, yeah,
gash,
great, you gash,
like
you stupid
like,
gash.
Fucking
other than the C
well.
word, I think it is one of the worst, isn't it? Obviously, this. I mean, it might be him having a joke, because I'm not sure about the tone of some people. Sometimes you can obviously, it can always be negative if you read it the wrong way when it comes to comments. But I think this might be just an indication that this guy just didn't like our jokes, did he? He just didn't like our jokes, and it's one of those divisive. The video was divisive because of the comedy, right? You don't like it, you don't like it. A sloppy gash is a bit farther.
Sloppy gash.
That's not fucking nice, is it? Yeah.
I am a lovely gash, thank you very much. Well kept.
Of all the gashes in the world, if I was going to be a gash, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a sloppy one.
Certainly not. It's not the adjective I'd like to be described.
That implies that you've been fucked too much, right?
I've got one here. It's on our Metro video, and it just fucking makes me laugh, because there's always one fucking little Fallout
nitpicking
fanboy.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's not even that fanboy-y, but they're immediately jumping to Fallout's defense.
Yeah.
Wow, another channel hating on Fallout. That's cool. And then someone commented back, "Fuck, comma." So it's not. Sorry. Fuck all those YouTube channels hating on Fallout 76. It's not fuck all those YouTube channels. It's fuck.
It's fuck. And then
like,
just an observation.
Yeah. It would have been a massive... Well, the thing is, this guy's a joke, so it's funny. It would have been a massive success if it were not for those pesky YouTube channels.
Yeah, which is actually a great point.
Exactly. There's a great rebuttal to this. Wow, another channel hating Fallout. That's cool. And it's like, oh yeah, because the YouTube channels are the problem.
That game would have done so well if it wasn't for YouTube. That game wouldn't have had any bugs. It wouldn't have had any performance issues, and it would have been content complete. There would have been human NPCs. There would have been proper quest givers, right? There would have been a proper story with. If it wasn't for those fucking YouTubers,
I'm literally imagining the fucking the villains in Scooby-Doo when it's like, I wouldn't have gotten away with it if it weren't for you dang YouTubers. Oh, bloody hell.
That's it. We are the Scooby Gang, us YouTubers.
I love
literally Scooby Gang. So I've got another comment here. Can you stop talking about mainly AAA and do more good indie smaller publisher games? Says Nirate Goel. This is more of a kind of serious comment and question, really.
It's a request.
Can we do more on indie games? Someone actually replied to him saying indie games coverage don't pay the bills. And unfortunately, that is the true fact of the matter. And now, we do like to... he's talking about Metro Exodus here, right? We should point out that isn't a AAA game.
It's a basically
self-published game.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Self-published. Well, published by Deep Silver, so it's not actually a self-published game technically, but it's not of the same tier as Call of Duty and things like that, which we pointed out in the video. But I think that what's more important than just reporting and raising awareness of indie games and just for the sake of indie games is generating coverage of games that we really enjoy and we really think it's good. I mean,
talk about stuff we want to talk about and feel passionate about, both positively and negatively.
For the right reasons, right? I mean, we like Metro Exodus. That's one of the invitations that we've accepted to go and play, because we get invitations for games that we're not too fussed about, and we have to politely decline and say, sorry, we can't come and play your game because we're just not fucking interested. But Metro Exodus was one that I was really interested for, so we went and played it, and we generate coverage of it because it's what we want to do, right? Because it's the game that we want to play and we feel interested in, and we think that this game has got something to offer outside of the world of AAA fucking microtransactions and loot boxes and all that bullshit. That's the reason we covered Metro Exodus. That's no reason.
Yeah. I got one here which really kind of just threw me out of the blue. Like, I don't really get it. So it's on the our Not the Gaming News one, and it's, can you guys do an episode where you speak in an American accent? And I'm not sure if that's them doing it, be like, yeah, because it'll be funny if you do it as an American accent and you're like a Fox News anchor or something, or if it's them being like, can you just speak in an American accent, please? I hate your accent. Can you just speak from
that fucking British accent? Just speak like the normal people, will you?
Hello,
speak like the Americans.
Welcome to Not Gaming News. I'm here with my co-host Gareth Evans.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not biting.
Don't pander.
I'm not biting.
To Michael McKenna.
Fuck him. Sorry, Michael. Sorry, Michael.
Sorry, bro. With you.
I mean, I'd have to go into training. I'd have to go to a
dialect coach.
Exactly. To be able to pull it off. I did a bit of Australian in today's video and I got called out for it. It's like, fucking hell, man. Australian was my one thing that I could do, and now I get called out for it.
I'm not saying nothing.
What are you saying against? Anyway, moving on. Zachary G says, this was off the podcast, right? This is, I think this was coming, when I said last week about going to Disney after to drive on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
And you said, oh, it must be so bad. And you've been a bit like a sarky bastard, right? Zachary G says, too many beautiful women love me. My diamond shoes are too tight. And my wallet is too small for my $50 notes. Gareth complaining, smiley face. Cheers, guys. It's you're being unfair there, Zachary. There's no way I wear diamond shoes. It's platinum all the way.
Oh, man. Oh, there was one really good one on the podcast. I think it was on the podcast one. Let's just see if I can find it, because it was having a go at me about my drinking habits. Oh fuck, what was it? Oh, it was something like, I don't see why people find it appealing to get like blackout drunk and all that. And I'm like,
I've got that. Let me read that for you. Just 1 second.
We'll see. I'll see if I can find another one.
Prairie Dog says, I don't understand why drinking to the point of physical illness and blackout is considered a positive way to spend the holidays. Am I giving it enough of an authoritarian tone here?
Or maybe try an American accent.
Or any day. No, it's got to be like a British kind of school teacher, head teacher thing. Combine that with the hangover. It's just bizarre. Why? Any bliss you get out of it is not even remembered. All you're talking about is how awful it was and how bad it made you feel. And to top it all off, how much did it cost you? Aces.
Right. You make it sound like I was doing that deliberately. May I make it clear? I was having a lot of fun, and things just went wrong. I have tried to get very drunk before, but normally I find if you're trying to get drunk, you're more aware of your limits, and you're like, oh, I'm comfortably having fun now. You don't even think about getting another drink because you're just having a great time. You chilled out. The only times I've ever got really, 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 really drunk, like blackouty drunk, is when it's come out of nowhere and like got out of hand. Yeah, like I've not eaten properly for that day. I've not really planned it, you know, and it's just kind of gone from one drink to a drink to a drink, and it's gone. The comment about how much it costed, it was free.
It costed nothing.
It costed
nul point. I mean, I think that's an indication of, you know, youth. It's like the what's the word? Just when you don't know how to take care of yourself, like you don't eat well, and it's my kids are exactly the same. They don't take care of their bodily functions, right? If nobody puts food in front of them, they won't eat, right? Yeah. If nobody reminds them that they need to go to the bog or whatever, they'll almost piss themselves and just sprint to the toilet because they're too busy watching the screen or something. And that's how I see you, Henry. You know, not eating enough food, not getting enough sustenance in you before you go out on these wild binges. And I bet you pissed yourself once or twice as well.
That's one thing I've never done, being drunk. I've never wet myself or pooed myself, to my knowledge.
I've never pooed myself, he says, in the most posh accent.
One of my favourite ones.
Never soiled my trousers.
Completely off topic now. Fuck the gaming news. We're here about my drinking habits. I might have said this before, but I was sick all over my girlfriend once, and when I say all over, I mean like all over.
Oh, tell me about it.
Well,
how did that happen?
I don't remember, so all I have is what she's told me.
So what you're saying is it could be complete bullshit.
Exactly. I keep telling her that, but she doesn't believe me. Well, like it's the same sort of thing. Like I wasn't planning to get that pissed. It just ended up happening. I thought so I had like a bottle of rum. It was probably like that big. I thought I had about that much. Looked the next morning, there wasn't anything left. And I was like, that's where it went wrong.
You drank a whole bottle of rum?
Yes. So I then went out and all that. Went home, in bed with my girlfriend, with spooning. So imagine like it coming over her, this is what she describes, like over her shoulder, all over the bedding and all that shit.
That is class.
Bless her soul, she handled it well in the sense that she didn't freak out and kick the shit out of me. I sleep vomited.
You know, in terms of someone criticizing you for all the shit that drinking causes, you know, you're feeling bad the next day. You can't buy that type of memory. You really can't. Spewing all over you.
Yeah. Well, like
that is great. That is hattie to you.
Well, like when I woke up, I was in my dressing gown, but nothing else. My bed was stripped, and it was just like the duvet, no cover, no pillowcases, no sheet.
You smell the sick.
When I woke up, I think I was still pissed, so it wasn't the end of the world.
So not only did she get spewed all over, that you were so paralytic that you weren't able to contribute to sorting the room out, that she sorted all that out for you. What a gem your missus is, man. She's an absolute diamond. She went
to have a shower, obviously, you know.
Because she was covered in chunks.
Yeah, and it was like fucking 3, 4, 5 in the morning or something.
Fuck.
And cause it was my uni house at the time, and the shower was really, really shit, so she just she was not fucking good enough to get my acidic vomit out of her flesh. So then she fucked off back to her gaff. So when I woke up, she just wasn't there. I was like, well, what's going on? Like my bed's stripped. But so I woke up in my dressing gown, right? But I hadn't gone to bed in it. So the way I think it must have happened is I must have got up to go to the toilet, and I mean, I'm naked. I don't want to be exposed. So in my drunken state, I still managed to have one little bit of dignity to not be naked. I've done all the sick, that's fine, but I won't be naked in front of nobody. So I put my dressing gown on, went to the loo, came back in, locked my door when I came in, and went back to sleep. Which is important because when my girlfriend went back to her place, she was texting some of my housemates to like, when you wake up, can you go check on Henry, make sure he's not fucking choking on his own vomit? But they didn't know because my bedroom door was locked, so they couldn't come in and see if I was alive.
Well, you were alive, and you lived to tell the tale, which is great.
I did.
2 weeks out of 2 now, we've had tales from the drunken Henry archives.
There's probably a few more I could tell in the future.
Well, we'll save them for next week, and that is it for our podcast this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. And that is it. We will see you again next week. Thanks for watching or listening on whatever platform. By the way, you can get these in future, if you haven't done already, on the streaming platforms now. So there's Spotify, there's Apple, You can get them on other podcast services as well if you are down with that, or just head over to Patreon, the Patreon page. There's a MP3 download that I stick on there. It goes public at the same time as the YouTube video goes public, a few days after it gets early access to the patrons. But that is it from us. Thank you for listening and watching and supporting us as always. We will see you again next week at the same time, probably. I can't promise that, but we will be at some point. See you later. Bye for now.